Welcome, dear viewers, to our channel, where every story has a secret and every mystery has meaning. We take you beyond the headlines and deep into the truth that time has buried. Get ready to see the world like never before. Now we explain the tragic story of Medusa.
Long before mortals carved cities into the bones of the earth, when God still walked among men and whispered destinies through the winds, there lived a maiden whose beauty could silence storms. Her name was Medusa, and her story would echo across centuries, a story of beauty turned to terror, innocence to curse, and justice lost in the shadow of divine pride. The name Medusa would one day strike fear into the hearts of heroes, but before she became the monster of myths, she was something else, something pure, radiant, and deeply human. Chapter 1: The Temple of Athena. In the heart of ancient Greece stood a gleaming marble temple dedicated to Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. Its tall pillars reached for the heavens, shimmering in the dawn light. Here, the air always carried the scent of olive oil and burning incense, offerings made by those seeking Athena's blessings. Among the priestesses serving in the temple was Medusa, a mortal woman unlike any other. Her golden hair shimmered like the sun's reflection on the Aegean Sea, and her eyes, bright, curious, and full of life, seemed to hold the very spark of the divine. People came from distant lands not just to worship Athena, but to catch a glimpse of this living symbol of grace. Medusa was devoted, humble, and deeply faithful. She swept the temple floors, lit the sacred torches, and polished the statues of gods with her own hands. Unlike the marble perfection of Athena's image, Medusa was warm and alive. Laughter rippled in her voice, and kindness shone from her gaze. Yet it was this very beauty, this mortal glow, that would bring upon her the wrath of heaven. Chapter 2: The Eyes of Envy. The gods are not as merciful as mortals imagine. Their pride is fragile, their vanity eternal. Athena, though the goddess of wisdom, was not immune to envy. The whispers of the temple reached even her divine ears, that mortals were comparing her beauty to that of her own priestess, Medusa. Some said that Medusa's hair gleamed brighter than Athena's silver helm. Others claimed her face outshone the marble statues that represented the goddess herself. At first, Athena dismissed these whispers, but as the praises grew louder, something bitter stirred in her heart. For a goddess, even the hint of comparison was an insult. And then the sea god Poseidon entered the tale, and fate sealed Medusa's doom. Chapter 3: The Storm and the Sea God. One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, Medusa walked along the cliffs near the temple. The wind carried salt from the sea below, and the waves crashed violently against the rocks, as if something ancient was stirring within them. From the depths of the ocean rose Poseidon, the mighty god of the seas. His trident gleamed like lightning, his eyes deep and restless as the waters he ruled. He had seen Medusa before. Her beauty had reached even the bottom of his realm. But now, seeing her up close, he was captivated beyond measure. "Fair maiden," Poseidon vaunted, "even the foam of my waves envies your beauty. Come with me, I shall make you queen of the ocean."
Medusa stepped back, startled but respectful. "My lord," she said, bowing slightly, "I serve only Athena. I am bound to her temple and her vows." Her words, though gentle, wounded Poseidon's pride. No mortal had ever refused him. "The goddess of wisdom cannot love you as I can," Poseidon whispered, his tone shifting. "You belong to the sea, wild, beautiful, untamed." Medusa turned to leave, her heart pounding. But before she could, the sea god's desire overcame restraint. The storm rose, lightning cracked across the sky, and Poseidon's fury descended upon the sacred temple of Athena itself. Chapter 4. The Violation. The night that followed was one of terror. In the silence of the temple, under the watchful gaze of Athena's statue, Poseidon claimed what he desired. The marble floors, once sacred, bore witness to a crime that would echo through eternity. When dawn broke, Medusa sat trembling beneath Athena's statue, her golden hair tangled, her tears drying on her cheeks. The goddess's stone eyes seemed to look down upon her with cold judgment. The priestesses found her and screamed, not in pity but in fear. "You have defiled the temple! You have angered the goddess!" Medusa tried to speak, to explain, but no one listened. The gods did not care for mortal innocence. The blame, as always, fell upon the powerless. Chapter 5. The Wrath of Athena. When Athena appeared before Medusa, her radiance filled the temple. Her armor gleamed like lightning. Her shield, the Aegis, shimmered with divine fury. Medusa fell to her knees, trembling. "Goddess, forgive me. I have done no wrong." Athena's voice was sharp as a blade. "You desecrated my sacred temple," she declared. "You allowed the sea god to defile this holy place." Medusa cried, "He came unbidden. I tried to flee." But Athena was unmoved. Whether out of pride, jealousy, or divine politics, she chose not to hear. Perhaps she could not punish Poseidon, an equal among the Olympians, and so she turned her wrath upon the mortal who could not fight back. "You will bear the mark of your sin," Athena said coldly. "Let the world see what defiance brings." The goddess raised her hand. A surge of light, blinding, searing, enveloped Medusa. Pain ripped through her body and her screams echoed through the temple halls. When the light faded, silence fell. Where once stood a maiden of unmatched beauty, now knelt a creature of terror. Her golden hair had become a writhing crown of serpents. Her eyes burned with unnatural fire. Her skin, pale as marble, shimmered with the coldness of stone. Athena's curse was complete. "Any who gaze upon you shall turn to stone. You are Medusa no more. You are the monster of my wrath." And with that, Athena vanished. Chapter 6. The Exile. Medusa stumbled through the ruins of her former life. Her tears fell as hissing serpents slithered from her head. Everywhere she turned, mortals fled in terror. Even the seas seemed to recoil from her reflection. She fled to the far edge of the world, to a desolate island known as Sarpedon, where no man dared to walk. There, surrounded by jagged cliffs and endless waves, she lived alone. The once golden sunlight that once adored her now only mocked her with cruel brightness. At night, she would speak to the stars. Why? Why must I suffer for the crimes of the gods? The stars, eternal witnesses of human sorrow, had no answer. But fate, ever cruel and watching, was not yet finished with Medusa. For one day, her name would reach the ears of a young hero, Perseus, the slayer of monsters. The Tragic Story of Medusa,
Part 2: The Hero and the Monster. Chapter 1: A Kingdom in Despair. Far away from the lonely island of Sarpedon, across the glittering Aegean waters, lay the small kingdom of Seriphos. There ruled King Polydectes, a man consumed not by justice, but by greed and lust. His heart desired one thing above all: Danae, a mortal woman of striking grace and strength. Yet Danae's devotion belonged solely to her son, Perseus, the child of Zeus himself. Perseus grew strong and proud, his courage matched only by his love for his mother. But Polydectes despised him. He could not claim Danae while her son lived in defiance at her side. So the king devised a cunning plan, a way to rid himself of the young hero once and for all. Chapter 2: The Impossible Quest. One evening, Polydectes gathered his courtiers for a grand feast. Wine flowed, laughter echoed through marble halls, and the scent of roasted lamb filled the air. When the moment was right, the king arose from his throne, his voice loud and mocking. "My friends," he declared, "I intend to marry the beautiful Danae. As custom demands, each man here shall bring me a wedding gift befitting a king." The men murmured nervously. Jewels, horses, and gold were offered, but Perseus, who owned nothing but his courage, stood tall and proud. "I have no riches, my lord, but tell me what gift you desire, and I shall bring it, even if it costs me my life." Polydectes smiled, his eyes glinting with malice. "Then bring me the head of Medusa, the Gorgon, whose gaze turns men to stone." A hush fell across the hall. The courtiers exchanged fearful glances. None dared to speak the cursed name aloud, but Perseus, unaware of the trap, bowed deeply. "It shall be done," he said. Thus began the quest that would change not only his fate, but that of Medusa herself. Chapter 3: The Gods Intervene. The gods, ever watchful from their thrones on Olympus, took an interest in the mortal's vow. For Perseus, though brave, was mortal, and to face Medusa was to court certain death. Yet Zeus, his divine father, would not let his son perish. So he summoned two deities to guide him: Athena, goddess of wisdom, and Hermes, the swift messenger of the gods. Athena appeared first, her silver armor gleaming like the moon. "Brave Perseus," she said, "your courage honors Olympus, but against the Gorgon, your mortal strength alone will fail." Hermes followed, his winged sandals gliding above the ground. "You'll need gifts from the gods if you're to survive, boy, and perhaps a bit of luck," he said with a mischievous grin. Athena handed Perseus a gleaming bronze shield, polished so finely it reflected the world like a mirror. "Do not gaze upon Medusa directly," she warned. "Her eyes will turn you to stone. Use this shield to see her reflection instead." Hermes drew from his belt a curved blade, sharp as moonlight. "This sword was forged by Hephaestus himself," he said. "No mortal armor can resist it." But these alone were not enough. To find Medusa, Perseus would need the aid of ancient beings older than the gods, the Grey Sisters, 3 immortal witches who shared a single eye and a single tooth.
Chapter 4: The Grey Sisters. Through mist and darkness, Perseus journeyed to the land of the Grei, the ancient sisters of fate. Their home was a place untouched by sunlight, where time itself seemed to stand still. The sisters sat together upon a rock, their skin as pale as ashes, their hair white as cobwebs. Between them passed a single eye, which they used to see the world in turns. As Perseus approached, he hid in the shadows, waiting. When one sister passed the eye to another, he lunged forward and snatched it from their grasp. The sisters shrieked, "Who dares steal from us? Return the eye, thief!" Perseus held it just beyond their reach. "I seek the dwelling of the Gorgons," he said. "Tell me where they lie, and I shall give you back your sight." Hissing and muttering, the sisters relented. "Beyond the edge of the world," they croaked, "in the land where night and day meet, where no man walks and no bird flies, there you will find the Gorgon's lair." True to his word, Perseus returned the eye. As he turned to leave, the sisters whispered after him, "Beware, mortal. Not all monsters are born evil. Some are made so by the cruelty of gods." The words echoed in Perseus's mind as he took flight once more. Chapter 5: The Cursed Island. Meanwhile, on her lonely island, Medusa lived in sorrow. The years had turned her into a creature of legend, her name whispered as a warning to children and warriors alike. Yet, in truth, she harmed none who sought her out. She had built a small sanctuary amidst the ruins, a home of silence, shadows, and sorrow. Her sisters, Steno and Urea, immortal and monstrous like her, watched over her. But even among them, Medusa remained apart. Unlike her sisters, she was mortal, and therefore doomed to die. They feared for her, though she no longer feared death. She spent her days by the cliffs, gazing at her reflection in the water, only to see it twist and shatter as serpents slithered across her brow. Once, her face had inspired love. Now, it only inspired terror. At night, she dreamed of her former life, of the temple, of laughter, of sunlight on marble floors. But when she awoke, she heard only the hissing of snakes and the distant crash of waves. "Was it my fault?" she often whispered to the stars. "Did I deserve this curse?" The stars, as always, gave no answer. Chapter 6: The Descent of the Hero. Guided by Athena and Hermes, Perseus finally reached the land beyond time, the dark cliffs where the Gorgons slept. The air was thick with silence, the sky an endless twilight. Statues littered the ground. Warriors, beasts, and adventurers turned to stone by the Gorgon's gaze. Perseus's heart pounded in his chest. He gripped his sword tightly, clutching Athena's mirror shield before him. "Do not look directly, only the reflection," he told himself. The gods watched from afar, unseen. Hermes' voice whispered in his ear, "Remember, boy, she is deadly. Strike swiftly before she can awaken." But Athena's gaze lingered longer on the mortal she had cursed so long ago. And yet, she muttered to herself, what crime did she truly commit? Perseus moved silently through the statues, careful not to glance into their lifeless eyes. The closer he came, the more he felt an unfamiliar sadness, as if the air itself mourned something lost.
Chapter 7: The Dream of Medusa. That night, Medusa dreamed again, but this dream was different. In it, she saw her old self, the young maiden of the temple, her golden hair flowing, her eyes full of hope. Then she saw Athena's wrath, Poseidon's shadow, and her own reflection twisting into a monster. She woke with a cry, her serpents writhing in distress. For the first time in years, she felt something stirring, a presence nearby. Her senses sharpened, the air trembled. Someone had entered her domain. "Another fool seeking glory," she whispered bitterly. "Then come, mortal, meet your fate." But deep inside, her heart ached. How many more must die before the gods are satisfied? Chapter 8: The Encounter. Perseus crept closer, shield raised, every muscle trembling. He could hear the faint sound of hissing, not from one snake, but from many. The air shimmered with power. He turned his eyes to the shield and saw her reflection, not the monster of legend, but a woman. Her face, even distorted by the mirror's curve, held sorrow rather than rage. She was sitting upon a rock, her head bowed, her hands trembling as if burdened by centuries of grief. The snakes that crowned her head seemed to move not in fury, but in restless pain. Perseus froze. This was no beast. This was a soul in torment. But the god's commands echoed in his mind. Bring her head. His mother's safety depended on it. His honor, his survival, his very name, all demanded he obey. He took a slow breath, raised his sword, and approached. Medusa's voice rose, soft and trembling. You need not come closer, mortal. I know why you are here. Her tone was neither threatening nor cruel, only tired. Do you think your glory will erase my curse? That the gods will love you for killing what they made? Perseus hesitated, his heart pounding. I am sorry, he whispered. I have no choice. Medusa smiled sadly. None of us ever do. And in that moment, as she turned her face away, Perseus struck, swift and silent, guided by Athena's hand. The sword flashed like lightning. The hissing stopped.
Chapter 9. The Aftermath. For a moment, the world held its breath. The air was still, the sea silent. Then Perseus lowered his shield and saw the result of his deed. Medusa lay still, her serpents limp, her face peaceful for the first time in centuries. In death, she looked almost human again, as though the curse had lifted at last. Perseus felt no triumph, only sorrow. He knelt beside her and whispered, "May you find peace where the gods denied it." From her blood that touched the earth, two beings rose, Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, the warrior born of gold. They soared into the sky, children of Poseidon and Medusa, free at last. Perseus wrapped the head carefully in a cloth, avoiding her gaze. The serpent still hissed softly, alive even in death. He could not look upon it. It felt like a betrayal. Athena appeared beside him, her armor gleaming. "Well done, son of Zeus," she said. "You have fulfilled your destiny." But Perseus did not answer. "Why?" he finally asked. "Why must beauty and innocence always bear the weight of your punishment?" Athena's eyes darkened. The will of the gods is not for mortals to question. Yet as she vanished, even the goddess felt a whisper of guilt, a pain she could not name. Chapter 9. The Return. Perseus began his journey home, the head of Medusa secured in his satchel. Along the way, he encountered monsters and tyrants who sought to stop him, but with a single reveal of the Gorgon's face, they turned to stone. The world hailed him as a hero, but in his heart, Perseus carried the memory of her sorrowful eyes. He knew that his victory had come at the cost of something far greater than fame, the loss of a soul cursed for sins not her own. Each night, he dreamed of her, not as the monster the world feared, but as the woman in the temple, smiling beneath the sun.
The Tragic Story of Medusa, Part 3, The Legacy of the Gorgon. Chapter 1, The Flight of the Hero. The wind roared through the skies as Perseus soared above the sea, his heart heavy with the burden of what he carried. In his satchel lay the head of Medusa, its serpents still hissing faintly, alive even in death. The gods had given him speed through Hermes' winged sandals, yet no flight could outpace the weight of guilt pressing on his soul. The ocean below shimmered like liquid glass. Far ahead lay the horizon, home, his mother, and the kingdom of Seriphos. Yet every beat of his wings echoed with the memory of her final words. "None of us ever do." The phrase haunted him. Perseus had thought himself a hero, destined for glory, but now he wondered if he had merely played a pawn's role in the cruel games of the gods. The victory felt hollow, a shadow cast upon his heart. As night fell, he rested on a rocky island. The stars above seemed colder than before. He looked toward the satchel, its faint serpentine hiss like a whisper of remorse. "Forgive me," he murmured.
You deserved peace, not death. The waves below did not answer, but somewhere, far beyond the mortal world, perhaps the spirit of Medusa heard. Chapter 2: The Monster's Gift. As Perseus flew onward, storms gathered in the distance. Lightning streaked the sky, not from Zeus's hand, but from the natural fury of the world. The wind pushed him off course, forcing him toward unfamiliar shores. There, upon the edge of the land of Ethiopia, he saw chaos below. A giant sea monster, the Cetus, was rising from the deep, its maw open wide, its roar echoing like thunder. Enchained to the rocks stood a young woman, Andromeda, the daughter of King Cepheus and Queen Cassiopeia, condemned as a sacrifice for her mother's vanity. Perseus did not hesitate. Drawing Medusa's head from his satchel, he held it high. The monster froze mid-lunge, its scales hardening, its body turning to stone. Within moments, the beast was a statue, forever imprisoned in its final scream. The people rejoiced. Andromeda's chains were broken, and she fell into Perseus's arms, trembling but alive. For the first time since his encounter with Medusa, Perseus felt the warmth of purpose. Not glory, not vengeance, but salvation. Yet even in triumph, he could not forget whose power had saved them. It was Medusa's face, her cursed gaze that turned monsters to stone and freed the innocent. The very thing that once brought her torment had now become a weapon of protection. Perhaps Perseus thought there was justice in that, though cruel and incomplete. Chapter 3: The Return to Seriphos. When Perseus finally returned to Seriphos, he found his kingdom consumed by corruption. King Polydectes had taken his mother captive, his cruelty unchecked in the hero's absence. Perseus strode into the king's hall, his voice calm but firm. "You demanded the head of Medusa," he said, his eyes dark with purpose. "Behold your gift." Before the king could speak, Perseus drew forth the Gorgon's head. Light exploded, and in an instant, Polydectes and his courtiers turned to stone. The hall that once rang with laughter and deceit fell silent forever. Danae embraced her son, tears of relief glistening in her eyes. "You have freed us," she whispered. But Perseus could not celebrate. "At what cost?" he murmured. For though his mother was safe, he knew he had used the curse of a woman unjustly condemned. And that power, though mighty, was born from sorrow.
Chapter 4: The Offering to Athena. In time, Perseus sought to rid himself of the Gorgon's head, fearing its growing power. He traveled to the Parthenon, where Athena awaited him, serene, radiant, and cold. He knelt before her and offered the head. "It is yours, great goddess. I have fulfilled the tasks set before me." Athena took it with a silent nod. Her eyes flickered, a moment's hesitation, perhaps regret, though swiftly buried beneath divine calm. She raised the head high and fixed it to her aegis, her bronze shield, where it became both weapon and warning. From that day forth, the Gorgon's visage adorned her armor, a symbol of protection and terror combined. Enemies who looked upon it turned to stone, just as those who once defied Medusa had. But Athena felt something shift within her, an uneasy awareness that the power she now wielded was born from her own cruelty. The image of Medusa, the mortal woman she had cursed, now guarded the goddess who had destroyed her. And in that paradox lay the deepest irony of all. Chapter 5: The Fate of Perseus. Years passed. Perseus ruled justly beside Andromeda, raising a family and building cities that would one day bear his name. The people hailed him as a hero, a demigod, a savior of mankind. But even heroes are not free from memory. As he grew older, Perseus often dreamt of the Gorgon's island, the cliffs, the waves, the lonely figure whose eyes had seen too much pain. In those dreams, Medusa did not speak, but her gaze was no longer a curse. It was full of understanding and forgiveness. When death finally came for Perseus, it was said he looked skyward and smiled.
as if seeing something beautiful beyond the clouds. Perhaps, in that final moment, he met her again, not as the monster he slew, but as the woman whose tragedy had forged his destiny. Chapter 6. The Gorgon Lives On.
Chapter 7. The Shadow of the Gods. Even the gods themselves could not escape the echo of Medusa's curse. Athena, though she wore the Gorgon's image as armor, was forever haunted by the mortals she had wronged. Some say she placed the head on her shield not as a trophy, but as a reminder of guilt, of pride, of the fine line between justice and cruelty. Poseidon too bore his share of the stain. Though never punished for his violence, his name became forever linked to the story of the woman he destroyed. His temples grew quiet in time, his worshippers fewer as the centuries turned. Mortals began to see his power not as divine majesty, but as the shadow of male arrogance. Zeus, ever silent, allowed it all to unfold, proof that even kings of gods are bound by fate's cruel design. Chapter 8. The Transformation of Myth. As civilizations changed, so too did the tale of Medusa. The Romans reshaped her image, turning the Gorgon into a guardian, her face carved on doors and shields to ward off evil. The medieval worlds made her a demon, proof of sin and vanity. But with the dawn of new ages, thinkers and storytellers began to see her differently. They peeled away the layers of fear to find the truth beneath. A woman turned into a monster, not by choice, but by the injustice of those in power. In her serpents, they saw not curses, but symbols of renewal. For snakes shed their skins, reborn anew. And in her gaze, they saw resistance, the power to confront cruelty, to hold it still, to say no more. Medusa, once the embodiment of dread, became the emblem of transformation itself. Chapter 9. The Voice That Endures. If you listen closely to the winds along the Aegean shores, they say you can still hear her, a whisper in the waves, a sigh in the stone, not of vengeance, but of remembrance. Medusa's voice lingers not in temples or scriptures, but in every heart that has known injustice. Her story reminds us that beauty can be cursed, innocence can be punished, and yet power can rise from pain. Perseus' legend may have been sung by heroes, but it is Medusa's silence that endures. Epilogue. The Mirror of Humanity. In the end, Medusa was never the true monster. The real monsters were pride, envy, and the divine cruelty that demanded suffering for the sake of power. Her story reflects humanity itself, how easily beauty becomes threat, how quickly victim becomes villain, and how the truth is twisted by those who fear it. The mirror Athena once gave Perseus reflects more than faces, it reflects souls. And when we gaze into it, we must ask, who among us has not turned away from the innocent? Who among us has not mistaken strength for sin? Perhaps somewhere beyond the stars, Medusa walks free again. Her serpents now gentle, her eyes kind, her soul at peace. No longer cursed, no longer feared, simply remembered. And perhaps that is how legends truly end, not with death, but with understanding.